Coming up tonight on Game All Night, I'm joined by Glenn Flaherty of Boardgames Bourbon.
Welcome to Game All Night.
Tonight, I am joined by none other than Glenn Flaherty of Bourbon and Board Games.
And Board Games and Bourbon.
And Boardgames Bourbon. It's the same thing, but we're drinking something, obviously. I have my Booker's. What are you drinking, fair sir?
Booker's is such a wonderful drink. That is actually my favorite drink and my go-to drink that really opened me up to the barrel proof kind of drinking. But I must say my favorite drink is actually Elijah Craig barrel proof.
Okay.
In previous years, it really had a impactful quality that you could have an entire conversation around. Lately, I prefer drinks that don't take over the conversation. They just sit in the background, and they are a nice calming element while you are talking about your day and relaxing away and pretending your entire work week didn't occur. But what do I have with me right now, you might ask? Fabulous question. Well, hi. Without further ado, it is a Nika coffee grain whiskey. Now, this it's a fantastic one, and it's from Japan, and it really has almost it definitely has a coffee quality to it, but it's very viscous, and it falls nicely on the palate. I might even say there's a touch of Di Serono in there, and it blends together to be a perfect way to end a night or to begin my first time on Game All Night.
Well, here, sir. Cheers. Absolutely.
Cheers. I should have waited. It would have been really polite. Cheers. Clink.
It's all right. It's all good.
Now,
I appreciate, too, that you have the dram. You have the nice glass for this, too. Because, I mean, that's special. That's not just any old thing.
You have to... No way. You have to be proper, you know. Hold on. There's only one way this gets classier. There you go. That's how I do it.
Extendo pinky?
That's how you do it. Now, you know, when you give cheers to people, have you heard that when you clink glasses, you're supposed to look them in the eye?
Really? No, I did not.
This is what I heard. This is what I was told. I don't know anything. I have no culture.
Well, you know, in today's world of loose connections and, you know, thumbs up.
Loose people.
Well, they might still exist. But, you know, I appreciate that we're trying to make touchstones, right? Like, we're trying to make interactions with people. I think more people need a reason to meet other people, because we don't have chances anymore, right? Like, so you used to have to ask people for directions or where a phone was or, you know, whatever. Now it's like all this information's at our fingertips. So we have to force interactions, hence why I feel the board game resurgence is occurring, but also why
absolutely
like the bourbon movement and the whiskey movement, but also like the craft beer, you know, all this stuff is creating these little pods. Yeah, it's these little pods of, hey, I like a thing, you like a thing, let's talk about that thing, right?
I completely agree, you know. It's interesting, and I think the last time I was on, actually, I touched on this a little bit, which was what got me into board games was I was trying to spend more time with my wife, and her job involves the computer all day. She's an economist, and I wanted to pull her away. And it was hard for us to find time because I do music for a living. So our hours were, you know, night and day, literally. And this was a common ground where we could be face to face. And I really think that, kind of like the boom of electronics and the digital age and the internet, people became so consumed in it. It was exciting to explore the heights of where it could go, but it became so big, it started to fall apart. And I think the very real face-to-face, the tangible quality of the board game that was desired. It was the reaction and the result of the digital age. And I can take that a step further to say, I think it's really gone into many elements of society. I think it's gone into when we talk about, having these craft drinks and we can really appreciate the real thing in front of us. I can also say it's true for the music world. In the music world, and now I own a music school.
Okay.
And the lessons used to all be electric guitar. Oh boy, everyone wanted to be guitar hero. Okay. But I can tell you over the last 10 years or so, that's not true anymore. And I've had no one walk in saying, I want to sound just like that guitar person. If anything, it's shifted to, and this was surprising. You might say, oh, music is becoming, all Spotified and becoming less valuable, or maybe it's all on the computer or something. But actually, people are really requesting a violin, a real piano, not even a keyboard. Harmonica and accordion are really big at my school. So going back to things that you might think are passe, but adding that real touch, it's really coming back.
Now, when you say that, are you talking about students who are, say, high school or lower, or are we talking adults, or is it kind of a mix of everything?
Well, it is a mix of everything. And actually, most of my accordion students are young people under 10, believe it or not. And I don't know where that came from. Yep. And
mom and dad love the polka.
Judy Tenuta, everybody wants that. But and actually, it's a lot of it used to be like for electric guitar, people were switching now to classical guitar. And the balance of even like whether it's girls or boys is changing too, which is actually a quite wonderful thing, because when it was electric guitar heavy, it was mostly teenage boys who wanted to sound like Metallica or something like this. It was pretty narrow bandwidth, but it's opening. The instruments being requested is opening. And so, and it is very much a thing that is, I am not someone who romanticizes the past or has sentimental feelings. Embrace what is going on and move with it. All of history is about going with the flow, going
it's cyclic, right?
So absolutely. And, everything, from the past just repeats itself. Know your history, know your future. And so I see that again, the board games, they're coming right back. And, it's interesting. And I hope I'm not going too far on a tangent here, but
that's what this whole show's about. It's just one big tangent, so you're fine.
Okay, good. So I see board games, and I actually was thinking about this the other day, is very parallel in art form to the great painters. My dream before I pursued music, I did music because music was easy, but my dream was always to be a painter. And whether you were looking at Pissarro or Monet, and then moving into Mondrian or into, Basquiat, and moving through, Keith Haring and into modern days with, Adrian Genny and stuff like this, what you see is that art form is always progressing forward. And I'm talking about whether it's painting or music, and I do consider board games an art form. You're telling a story, and there's craftsmanship to it.
Right.
And as it pushes forward, everything you're doing is a reaction to what came just before it. Because, and I don't believe in this statement, things were better in our day, or things are getting better. Everything is a reaction. Everything is saying, give me a new rub. And kind of like whiskeys, I would rather have a memorable whiskey interaction than say, this is better. I bought the Pappies. I did all that. The Pappy Van Winkles that go for like $2,600 a bottle. They're totally overrated. They're not the best at all.
It's marginal improvement when you hit a certain point, right? It's just like the increment of the improvement is so small, but the price jumps exponentially. So I'd rather have something that's a 4.5 than that thing that's a 5, because that 4.5 just saved me 80% of whatever that was.
Oh, absolutely. This much, improvement costs this much money.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like that with guitars and everything. You can buy a great guitar for like $400. You want that special little knob? That'll be $6,000, please.
Yep.
And so and it's that way with everything. And you do pick and choose what you want, But I definitely see that in the world of board games as well. As the games go on, similar ideas keep coming back. Like look at Kinesia, right? He just keeps releasing essentially the same games. Like I can always tell a Kinesia game because it has it's basically a math formula with a veneer of whatever
and it's always
laid on top.
Your second lowest thing is what scores the most. So, or not your highest thing. It's
like that.
Yeah, he's always got this kind of caveat where, okay, you can ignore things at your own peril, but you're right. It's all math-based stuff. That's why he's Dr. Knizia.
How many mathematicians are making games, man? It blows my mind, man. And you know what? And I swear, I think that's another reason you can see that roll and writes are getting big, because if you take most games and boil them down to the matrix of choices, it really just is a spreadsheet. Like I was talking to Matt Riddle, who is an awesome dude. He made Fleet, and we were hanging out.
One of the Fleetbles.
One of the Fleetbles. And what else did he do? Morocco, and I forget all the other things. But he actually had Fleet Dice, the new game coming out.
I can't wait.
And he's like, I came up with this and here it is. I present it to you. That really impressed me with how he's able to do that. Now, with Matt, I don't know if I could tell you what is a Matt game. I can tell you what a Kinesia game is.
Sure.
I'm gonna throw a question at you. I'm gonna put you on the hot seat here.
It happens once in a while.
I'm gonna be Morton Downey Jr. and you, sir, are who or what robot or what human that designs games do you think is identifiable? And I'm gonna throw it in this way. And even a person who you could look at a design and say, this was informed by someone else. Like if you see a Monet, you always know it's a Monet because you have that dream quality to it.
But you also know where you can also tell when somebody's in that style because, it's impressionist and it's,
correct. Cubism or Van Gogh and the thick marks or whatever it might be, what game creator do you think is identifiable? You'd play it and be like, okay, you know what? I bet this person made this.
Well, I mean, I have a few. I'd say right now, I'll be honest with you, Feld and Uwe are the easy choices because I think that their games are very singular. Okay.
That's true.
Point salad, the feel, the vibe. But I want to go more contemporary, and I want to say Ryan Lucat because yes.
I
think all his games, not only is the feel, the way the structure and the game flows, the use of cards and variability, and the way his designs have progressed, but even the aesthetic is 100% all him. So I think it's taking it to the nth degree. It's going even a step further and saying not only is this person a result of the mechanics, he's also the look, the feel, the vibe, and everything else that comes with that.
And it is completely in unison. You know, sometimes when I look at a car design, I'll be like, boy, that car looks great from the side. And then when I'm driving behind it, I'm like, man, that car has the flabbiest butt on a car. It just looks like they threw clay. And the people who designed the sides weren't talking to each other. Or the name.
It's like a Phil Collins song in the 80s. It just can't finish. It just fades out.
Oh my gosh. That's how I felt about the Cure. Yeah. So when it comes together, I'm trying to think of times that I've played games where I said, this is a great game, but some element of this has let the game down.
It happens all the time.
One time, you're talking about having people over. So when I was really getting into board gaming, I decided I wanted to host a board game night. And I didn't have too many friends who did it per se.
Awesome.
But I think I had a meetup group where I participated in one. I said, hey, everyone, come on over to Glenn's place. This is going to be fantastic. So here's the great thing. Like, this night went so wrong in so many ways. It was me and my buddy Will. We were running it. This, by the way, is a completely true story. It scarred my wife, and I could never have one of those meetup nights again at the house. But and I actually turned it in. I was recounting it, and it got turned into a night of horror, and it was repeated on the Dice Tower podcast.
Very nice.
So yeah. So we had open call. It was our friends. It was people I knew and who I wanted. But then there was that tertiary ring of people who I didn't know, and they were invited as well.
Sure.
That is when it all went downhill. So we opened up the door. We had this new place. We were very happy with it. And people were coming in. And the first thing, I forget if he was dressed like as a knight or as Skeletor, but someone came in full garb to this party carrying a heavy sword. And I was like, oh, okay, nice to meet you. But this person was dragging their sword around the ground.
No.
And they totally scraped up all the hardwood floor. That was pretty bad. That was a bad one. That was like, okay, that's like my night at the beach. I told you earlier about camping and all this. Please don't let me forget to tell you. Every time I have a night at my house or I go on vacation, It is like the Griswolds. It is like I'm trying to go to Wally World and something just falls apart. And so I had this night, this guy, and he has the sword and he's scraping up the floor. My wife is sitting on this bench sitting with my buddy Will, and actually might even been my buddy Will's. And there's this one guy over here, and he didn't have enough room, and my wife was eating food, and it was in her plate, and he looked over, probably politely, and he's like, can I make some room? And she said, sure. And he didn't pick up the plate and move it. He took his hand, he just put it on the food and picked up all her food and just took it and slopped it into someone else's plate really crazy. And my wife was like, who are these people? And then the person on the other side of her, he was wearing the Skeletor mask, and he's like, oh, it's so hot because he's sweating. He's wearing plastic. And so you would think perhaps the answer to this would be that he removes like the head garb or something. No, this guy, he's like, it's so hot. And then he brings his feet up and pulls his black dress socks off. And he goes, oh, and he just lays his black socks on the game table. Oh. And he's like, oh, this is so much better. She's like, no, this is not happening again. And
wow.
I said, oh, okay, I swear we're not, the misfit toys, but all right. So yeah, that was the first game night. Never had one again really like that. It was invitation only, and I had to know who you are after that moment. But,
I think that's good advice, because us living in the suburbs, sometimes we get a little sheltered, and we get a little. We feel a little safe after some time, and we're like, oh, we'll just have people over the house, and you're just like, anybody and everybody, and you're just like, maybe this wasn't such a good idea.
No, it is totally not. There's some rules of society that you think people would honor, like
And would a vampire count that as an invitation to come in? Like, would that? So I mean, really, you could really be opening yourself
like garlic,
up.
So maybe not.
You could totally open yourself up for a world of hurt, And I don't think they're the sparkly kind. Yeah.
And I think I invited some of that hurt. And be kind to everyone when you're here. Don't discuss religion and politics. Those are old rules we know to keep a night. Keep your socks on and don't put them on the table. Other rules like this, I forgot to mention, but live and learn.
Yeah, well, for next time. Exactly. And of course, part of me is just wondering if, the Skeletor had like a fake blonde comb over underneath there or something, given the town you live in. There's a lot of possibilities here. But...
what the crazy thing is? There's definitely different communities of gamers. I frequent a couple stores in the area, and I have friends at all the different locations. One of my favorite games to play when I walk into a new store and go to a game night, and some of them are packed to the gills, man. I'll tell you, gaming is alive and well in this part of the country, I can say at least. I think it might be because, someone once, made a stab in the dark and said, well, DC has one of the higher, educated populations. Maybe they're all into math and they like games for that reason or something, because everyone who has like a PhD or anything, they come here for work, right? That's what happens in DC. All these consultant and government positions are all filled by these incredibly talented and bright people. No, hopefully, right? And so the one would hope. This is what we tell ourselves. But game nights, in DC, it really is a lot of professionals. You see, they get off work, they're all in their collars and stuff like this.
Right.
And it's a certain vibe. Now, this does not take them out of my favorite game to play at game night, which is called What's on Your Shirt? And that's one of my favorite things to play, where you just try to take a random guess at whatever existing yellow, spot is going on over there, But, when you go into the suburbs and around the area, you have the more casual people, the people who maybe have the night at home. So they're coming in the T-shirt. It's a different energy, a different crowd. But everyone everywhere, I got to tell you, is 99%. And I will say a higher percentage than the general public. Totally cool, totally there just to have fun with people, and we were talking earlier, you were in the restaurant business, and I have a general, school that's open to the general public. Right. And not everyone who works through your door, for whatever their life circumstances are, I'm not judging what it is, they don't have the ability to calm down and just have a good time. So that's one of the reprieves I have in my life, is having those game nights, trying to, play those games, new or old. But I got to say, most of the time, everyone has their new hotness on the tables. That's always fun to dive into. But the vibe is great. And we're having that real time together. And I got to say, I like games. And I know I'm a chatty Cathy. I'm so sorry. But I like games that are like the whiskey we were talking about. And in that regard, I like a game that can sit in the background, not take over the night. It's fun to have a victory. It totally is. But when I go to those social nights, because I want to see other people, I want to be able to talk about, hey, man, that sweater that you just knitted, that looks fantastic, and not have somebody go, it's your move, take your turn, take it a step back and let's enjoy each other's company. That's what it's all about for me.
Yeah. And I think that, that's kind of what I think there's a contract when we go out to bigger groups and things. The bigger the group tends to be, I don't want to say the lighter the game, but I think the more social the atmosphere, which kind of lends itself to that. But for instance, me, on Monday nights, I literally, I was seeing that a lot, and I wasn't able to get the heavy games that I like to play in. So I'm like, well, I'll create a game night and I'll invite 3 friends, and literally that's it. It's just 3 friends.
It has to be a more niche market.
Right, exactly. But that's the Monday night crew. And when one guy can't show up, then that's when we play our crazy train games that he doesn't like. So once a month we get to do that. But the idea is that use the bigger events to kind of pick the people that you resonate with, and who aren't gonna go full Skeletor on you. And well, that's now going to be known as the full Skeletor.
Okay.
Right. And then you can kind of create smaller groups from that then you can kind of hopefully grow and blossom. Because I'll be honest with you, ChrisCon, I know a lot of gamers, but frankly, I don't invite all of them to the event because I don't know if they're going to fit in with the dynamic, or they have a quality that I just don't know if I want to bring into my house, super competitive people, things like that. I really, that's not what this is about. Even though for some reason I have a big board that I track everybody who wins on, it's usually always my friend Nick, but
and are you fudging the numbers to just say you win?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's a miscalculation. I guess that was actually me.
So we try to keep that kind of element out. So it's kind of groom and design your home group, and then kind of grow it from there. But Meetup's a great place to start if you go in public first. And then you kind of say, hey, you're cool. Let me get your email. You're cool. Let me get not just and
that's totally
hey, show up.
I am not a believer in this idea that your free time has to be a charity.
Yeah.
Some people say oh no, it has to be this whole world. No, man, this is also my free time. And I want to, it's very precious. I have very little of it. and I want to enjoy it to the fullest. That's no
Right.
slam on you. And you go to those big game groups, you have that group experience that provides you, and then you're able to parse out ones that would have an equally enjoyable experience in a smaller group. And you know what? That smaller group dynamic would not be appropriate for the larger group either. So each can coexist, and both are totally fine.
Awesome. Well, you know what?
Well, don't you?
I know, I totally agree. And that's exactly the point, right? Is like, we only have a limited number of hours on this earth. And, you know, there are some people that aren't worth wasting your time on. Now, granted, there's a lot fewer people in this hobby, fortunately. But I think that there's also moments in time where you can make better decisions. Say, you know what? I don't think this is the game for me. I'll sit it out. Don't feel pressured to play it either.
You're saving everyone time by making that decision.
Exactly.
It's like a relationship. You know, I'd rather just let's just, you know, you're better off with that kind of person. And frankly, let's be honest, if everyone liked the same food, every restaurant would have one menu.
It'd be Applebee's everywhere, right?
It would be. So everyone needs their own slice of the pie.
Exactly. And I think that's a great place to pause for our first commercial break, because that was awesome. And I have a few questions I want to kind of get into here, because we got a lot of ground to cover still. All right.
I can't wait.
We're going to do that right after this.
Day after day, millions of yellow meeples sit unused and unwanted in their box. These defenseless pieces haven't been given the chance of other popular colors like blue or red, so here they sit, unplayed, day after day, week after week, year after year. Throughout time, yellow has been labeled with terms like lemon or pea, hurting the delicate sensibilities of these meeples who didn't choose to be yellow, but were made that way. Who will be the voice for the unplayed colors? Will you? For a small donation of just $10 a month, we at GAN Charities will ensure that yellow sees just as much attention, love, and joy as the populars. We will endeavor to make sure that every pawn, meeple, and piece have a chance to win or lose as equals with the other colors. Don't let our pawn prejudice go any longer. Be the voice for the less played, less wanted, and less loved colors in all games.
All right, welcome back. I'm still here with Glenn. He is stuck around. He has.
I'm still here.
You're still here. You're still above board. I'm working on it.
I am still above board, and I have no comment. I still have. Okay.
Exactly. You had to go for a refill. Unfortunately, I did not, because I'm finding this very interesting conversation. So, you are a music teacher. You handle the accordion, the awesome accordion. For those at home, I need to put this back up just one more time, just so you can see the accordion flyer right here, right? The accordion.
I do not know how you found that.
Sounds, come and feel the music. Right? That's amazing. That's amazing to me.
You know, I haven't had many gigs on the accordion, but let me tell you, I used to play senior centers.
Okay.
And if you are over 80, you love me.
Right.
Man.
I mean, we've definitely had some Weird Al Yankovic love on here on the show, so we definitely are accordion friendly. It's the squeeze box is amazing.
Oh, yes, it is. And I love that song by The Who. This guy does his homework. That was not planned. This guy dives deep. So good job. So here's another thing. I'll give you something funny. When I had my first record out, and they were putting it out, we had the opportunity to have a music video made, and the director was there. And I don't know what was going on, but they put like tons of makeup on us. And they said, okay, this is going to be on the TV. So you have to jump around a lot to add excitement. And and also, by the way, the video, of course, because if you look at this, what you think is rapper. And so they're like, yeah. So pick that song. I want you to be this, and I want you to act this way on camera. And so like, there's a video out there somewhere of an old band and me going, you know, like it was like, and I'm playing guitar trying to be cool. And then I'm like, yo, and then Oh God, it was such a disaster. I was like, why am I doing this? Why does this exist? And
That's
then
amazing.
on to accordion.
Well, it's fun, but I gotta know, because there's the raging debates, right? Like, do people play music when they play games, or do they just play games, or do they play thematic music when they play games? So what's a game night at the Flaherty house like?
Well, this includes scraped floors and soaking socks.
It only counts if it's been a sword.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't think I would have ever thought that one sword is one sword too many, but now I'm starting to think that.
Yeah.
At my house, now I'm a pretty easy peasy guy. I'm pretty low class. So I like Miller Lights, Black and Milds, and have Hank Williams on the radio,
Okay.
But my favorite thing actually to play on guitar is bossa nova. So
Okay.
there's a some type of weird dichotomy there. But at my nights, normally what I would do, I'm trying to think of the times I played music. I think I put something really low key. Like if I have music on, it has to be incredibly quiet because I don't want it to be distracting. I don't want it to interfere with conversation. But I'll have something, almost like 70s, like, adult contemporary. I'll probably have like Bread. I don't know what's on. The Eagles. I'll have something, totally. My wife, this is one of the things I actually was really happy about on our camping trip. My wife, although she is completely the other-minded, right? I'm left-handed. I'm artistic, so I'm right-minded. Right. She's more left-minded, but she's really into like Neil Young and stuff like that, and that's fantastic. Because it is, I love playing guitar, and it's guitar and harmonica centered. That's two of the triple threat, and the threat that I provide is actually annoying people with my music. But
no, that's your benefit. That's not a threat.
that's my warning shot. And so like I would probably have like like the Eagles or something in the background, something that's not going to dun, 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 right. Nothing like that. But we have had nights where, we've played Tabletop Audio, I think is the website.
Yeah.
And some people have thought it was wonderful. I did not, because actually it distracted me from making my choices. And I've had some people act like there was two priests in the room doing an exorcism, and they're like, no! And they're like, turn it off, and they threw someone down a flight of stairs. They really reacted strongly to it.
Yeah.
So I don't know where it stands.
Yeah, it's very strange because I bounce back and forth. I want something. I'm the same way. I kind of need a background noise. Like, I'm not going to lie. I want something there, especially if it's a thinky game. Because I'm one of those people, I can usually decide my move pretty quickly, and then I'm kind of sitting there with my own thoughts. And so having music on kind of helps with that process. But I'm like you. I'm like, it's generally going to be like, soft 70s. I tell you, my favorite radio station, I kind of hate to admit it, but it's the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack radio station on Pandora. Because it's got everything you can imagine in it, and it's all from like the 70s, 80s, and some 60s, so it's really got this huge eclectic mix, which is really nice. But I think you're right. I think the only thing distracting
60s, 70s, 80s,
and today, because
that's always my favorite.
It's a decade a minute. It's great.
Well, that's very interesting that you said having music on helps you think. I find that too, and I find myself doing it without realizing it, and some people find it disrespectful, and I have to be more aware of that. But
you have to ask, I think. Is everybody okay if I put a little light? Or actually, I think it's easier to ask for forgiveness and permission. So it'll be on, and then I'll be like, is the music okay for everybody? That'll be my ask.
That's a lesson for life. Let me tell you, if you ask people, they'll make a bigger deal out of it. Just, do it. And most of the time, it's not an issue at all. And if they really want it off, they'll let you know, and then you have it set. But as far as my thinking, I find when I'm processing things, it's so instinctual for me. Also, I have to say that I actually think I'm an introvert. even though I've made a career out of performing music and speaking, it's always been done with the
A barrier.
with the blanket of
Yeah.
the barrier of the guitar in front of me. And when that goes away, and I'm very quiet, and people will say like, "Oh, hey, Glenn, are you okay?" I'm like, "No, yeah, I'm totally fine." And then like now I have to like defend myself of why I'm quiet. I also find being with people, and maybe I don't know, and maybe you can psychoanalyze me. I don't know if this is from
Well, you're
my
not on
days
the
of
couch
being
yet,
on.
but
Yeah, well, not on the yeah. My therapy is the bottle of whiskey. And I don't know if I don't know if dealing with people, if I'm always on, right?
right.
Like I know I can turn it on, and when I turn it on, I am in charge. But it taps all my energy, man. And when I am off, man, I am off completely, like recuperating. And I've heard people say like when they're introverts and they need to be in groups, they feel that way too.
Yes.
And to extrapolate upon that, when you're saying it helps you process and you think, I don't know if that's my safety blanket, but when I think, I find myself pulling a guitar and having entire conversations while I'm playing romanza or something.
Interesting.
And to me, that's completely like background noise while I'm thinking. To them, they think I'm not giving them my full attention, but it does help me process. So I wonder if that applies to board games as well.
Well, I definitely think it does because, one of the tricks to so my real job, I do adult training now. So trying to train an adult mind is a heck of a lot different than trying to train a child, because we need to really grok it and understand it at a different level than, when we were in high school. And it gets worse as we get older. Sorry. That's what you have to look forward to.
We get set in our ways.
Well, I just think it's that, and I think it's, I think it's a little bit of the Kelly Bundy theory where something goes in, something comes out. I think that there's I think we listen to things as we get older with a filter of, and we should do this more in life, with stuff we have. Is this something I need to keep or not keep? I think is a filter that's constantly going on the older we get. And I think that it gets deeper and deeper. It's like, am I going to need this in 5 years? Nope. Don't care. So I think we kind of condition ourselves over time to not grow and learn. So one of the ways I went about learning, because for those of you who don't know, I actually ski patrol during the winter months around here. And while Pennsylvania doesn't have big mountains, ski patrollers have to have a high level of training. We train just as hard as an ambulance. We could ride in a BLS ambulance. We have that level. And you're taking a 40-year-old restaurant manager and you're teaching him all this medical information and stuff. I was having none of it. Like it was not sticking. But one of the things that made it stick was I used aroma. So I would put on a scented, like I had a diffuser at the time, and I would put on some classical music very, very lightly. And for some reason, those two things combined helped create...
That is the restaurateur in you. The aroma, putting on the classical, do you want extra meatballs?
Yeah, it's one of those things that, you need to activate other senses in order to focus on the learning part. And I think that, for me, the music did that. Now, my wife can't, read a book and listen. She has to leave the room if I'm doing that. But for me, I'll put it on just very, very, very soft. And it's not something overly recognizable to me because I don't know classical music and things like that. So I'm not, singing along to it, aside if it was on a Bugs Bunny cartoon years ago.
Sure.
But it really helped me learn.
Some back door to the mind.
It did. And it actually worked. And I can't tell you exactly why. I think it probably more to do with preparing your mind and being mentally aware of that you're trying to make this a learning time. I think it's all those things kind of feed together. So, I think it's a holdover when I say playing music kind of calms me and paces the game for me. And I actually find I do better, as far as a result goes, when I have some external stimuli like that. I don't know. Try it at home and let me know if you're Your experience is different.
Well, it would be interesting if you're talking about it in terms of as time goes on. Now, this is true. I think this can really be expanded to all types of relationships, not only with you and learning, but learning to me is learning and communicating. Maybe it also applies to a partner where,
Right.
Perhaps through time we have these filters and perhaps we have these constructs and these paradigms that if what you're sharing to me doesn't fit into what I already know, it's difficult to enter that hardened pathways in my mind,
Yeah.
That's really interesting. It reminds me of that when I fall asleep at night, I feel like my mind is always racing. I feel like I always have 10 layers of thoughts going on.
They have to peel the onion before you can go to sleep.
Oh, it's impossible. I mean, really, and I think from my days in music, I'm still have this ingrained thing where, I would play a show. My show would be done at midnight. We pack up when the bar closes at 2. I'm on the road to the next town at 4 a.m. I fall asleep at 5. And that actually still kind of, even to this day, that continues. And I have like all of the logistics running through my head. I'm thinking about my business. What's going on? Am I going to get my video out? Am I going to go to a board game night? Am I going to have time to see my wife? And like all these things that I'm always trying to maintain are going on. And the only way I can fall asleep through pure exhaustion is if I have like a podcast or a radio on.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, having that on in the background, boom, within like 10, 15 minutes, I can, float away. And I don't know why. That'd be great to explore.
It would be. And it's really interesting. And I believe that it's kind of a sign of, one of the introverted people who just generally internalize a lot of things is that, we do tend to run this inner dialogue constantly, whether it's looking for approval or looking for validation or looking to cross things off a checklist, right? I have the same problem. And the only thing that worked for me was, before I go to bed, I try and write down, I'd spend like 10 minutes just writing every stupid thing I could think of down. And then once you got it on paper, it went out of your brain. And then you can finally...
it was like catharsis.
It was. So, how some people need like a morning routine to wake up? Like, I need to get up. I need to do my meditation, yoga, green tea. Yes. Great side tip. That's proving out to be awesome, by the way. But, you need to have like a routine to go to bed. It's not just I'm tired, I'm going to go upstairs now. It just doesn't work because you need to... if you don't have like a long drive home from work and then go to bed, or, if you work nights and things, you need something to kind of tell your brain like, hey, calm down. It's night mode. Time to go to sleep. And it's, it's the struggle is real, my friend.
Point.
Yeah.
So I think it's wider than we might imagine too.
Oh, absolutely.
If I may interject here, when you were talking about, you had the conversations in your head and that internal dialogue.
Yeah.
I'm a nutcase. I'm a total nutcase.
Oh, we all are.
Look, on my Twitter, I love games and I want to talk about games and celebrate games I enjoy. I don't go into, all the, internal crises that's going on in this nut job. I don't talk about it. But you were talking about internal dialogue. I have dialogue in my head, not only about what has occurred,
right,
but I have dialogue about what did not happen and what that must mean.
Yeah.
Why wasn't that said to me? Why didn't you say that to me?
It's the fear that holds you back.
Absolutely neurotic. I mean, the great thing is I'm learning to let it go. And as I grow older, like I'm 40 now. And as I grow older, I look back at who I was at 27, 35, or whatever age it was. And I thank goodness I can see my growth.
Right.
And the greatest quality I have gained for the most part, and of course it can still be worked on, is let it go, man. It is not worth holding on to any of it. Just let it go. Boom. It's so much better to go to sleep with a clear conscience. Don't hold bitterness or whatever went wrong. Because you know what? I had a friend who used to always complain about their day. Everything went wrong. And I'm like,
Right.
man, what you're talking about is existence. Life rarely works on your schedule.
No, it's the constant struggle.
It is. And you know what? I've learned to not view it as a struggle. I've learned to say this is, and it's not me in particular. Life is. And so it is for all of us. I haven't been out. Let's go to bed. And it's helped me a lot, but also blasting my podcast has helped a lot too. Do you listen to podcasts? What podcasts do you listen to?
I do. Let's see. It kind of changes. It used to be pretty constant, but because I now have the show and I try to get people on, and I want to do a little more research, so I'll listen to a few of them, and then I'll listen to some other stuff. But there's some that have stood the test of time. The Secret Cabal is they're relatively local. They're kind of in between you and me if I take the long way down.
Where are they out of?
They're out of York, which is straight up 81. Okay. So for you know, go through Baltimore, it's pretty easy.
Right. Baltimore.
Yeah, so they're pretty decent. I also big fan of Blue Peg Pink Peg.
Okay.
And I do listen to the Dice Tower main show, primarily that, and then Flip Flory and the This Game is Broken. They're the ones that have always stuck.
Wow.
And the other guys, I will, like, I'll check their episode, and depending on how long, the list, right? How long the list is. If that list gets really long, I might have to miss one or two. Like the Rolling Dice and Taking Name guys and everybody else. It's like they tend to fill up all the other time, because I'm finding now with work, I listen to a lot more than I used to, which is a good thing. But then I'm also adding in a bunch of research for the show. So that kind of tweaks that a little bit, if that makes any sense.
Totally
what do you listen to?
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting. I listen to nothing board game related. Because
I can appreciate that.
It's funny, my aspiration, my enthusiasm is seeing businesses grow, and I love board games, and I love the two. And I'm really hoping to forge some sort of career in board games moving forward.
Okay.
And taking all my business acumen and applying it. But the key to a happy life is balance. And social relationships, I spent a decade, so many years touring and being on the road and not being near my loved ones.
Right.
I want to spend time, and I'm really putting emphasis on that, seeing my loved ones. There's a camping trip, let's go enjoy the woods, and let's just be face to face and enjoy that together.
That's what this is all about, right?
It is.
That's what life is all about.
It is. And I want that time. Sometimes I want to enjoy the fresh air and enjoy the gifts that are around me, and other things, fill my time and are all wonderful. This hobby being one of them, and it has opened up so many wonderful doors. But I must say, I spend a significant amount of time testing the games. Like whenever a game comes in, no matter what it is, I try to play it at least 10 times. I do have that luxury. Probably Tom Vassell does not have that luxury because he's the man. But I have that luxury, so I try to do that. So I'm playing a lot. I'm trying to get my videos. And as reckless, I'm sure, as my videos seem, I do put thought into trying to share something that will shed new light on the topic. And I love it, but that burns me out, and I can't absorb too much more of it. I listen to sparse things here and there, but what are my other joys in life? Well, I love comedy. I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts. I actually listen and watch stand-up comedy nonstop. I love philosophy, and I find that a lot of truths are heard in poetry and in comedy, and they are so cutting and accurate and to the point.
Right.
I love it. I listen to a lot of comedy. I love boxing. Years ago, I was in Atlantic City, and there was somebody walking by who looked like Adonis. This person, now I'm like 6 feet, 6'1" maybe. And this person was like so far above me. I couldn't believe it. The guy looked like a statue. And it turns out his name was Klitschko. And so he was having a fight in Atlantic City, something like that. But tickets were like $1,000 to see. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. Good Lord. And so it just so happened, it was either just before this or just after that. I forget what time frame it was. Look, it's funny. I was in a court case once and somebody said, what day, or they said, what hour was it that this certain thing happened? And I'm just thinking, what hour? You're lucky if I could tell you what year it happened. Right. But so when I met this Klitschko guy, so I turned on the TV and Klitschko was fighting Lennox Lewis. Wow. And if you ever want to see an amazing fight, watch Vitaly Klitschko fight Lennox Lewis. It is the fight that made Lennox Lewis retire because he did not want a rematch. So I love boxing, and I think it's also this idea of what I never was. Like, I was always the scrawny guy who loved painting and drawing. I was never like the macho dude. Maybe some part of me still clings on to that or something. But I love watching that, listening to that. There's another podcast about, I forget what it's called, like fake history, but it's actual real history. It's like history you don't know. I listen to a lot of history and biographies. And then the craziest thing I do, which my wife thinks I'm a nutcase for doing this, I listen to it because it's hysterical as a comedy. I swear this is why. I listen occasionally to like conspiracy and flat earth podcasts because this is the craziest stuff you've ever heard. And I laugh wildly. That, and there's like a podcast called like The Darkest Hour about like, like there's a ghost in my toilet.
Nice.
And it's something like that. Yeah, it just cracks me up. That's what I listen to. I used to listen to podcasts a lot. And actually what happened was on the Dice Tower podcast, they said, do you have an idea for a segment? And I was actually very new to gaming. And I did have an idea. And it was that I wanted to talk about games that weren't super expensive, but gave you big game feels. Right. And I really love print and plays, and I love roll and writes. And I was kind of finding my way. And so I wrote him, and he's like, that sounds like a great idea. You're going to be on the podcast. I was like, what? I'm like, who am I? I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't let me say anything, And then I told my wife, and I said, hey, I'm going to be on the internet, like on a podcast talking. And she's like, wow, the internet really gives a forum to people who should not have forums. And I was like, you spot on. Yeah. But anyway, did that for like a year or so. And then they flipped the format. And thank goodness, and very graciously, people really warmed up to me, and everyone was my friend, and people guided me. And so for the last year or so, I've been welcomed with, open arms everywhere I've gone. The craziest thing is, like, if I go to a convention, someone knows who I am. I'm like, I'm pretty sure, like, my friends don't know who I am, Yeah,
your friends like, you do what on the side? You're like,
who are you? Yeah.
I have to get home. I have an interview tonight. They're like,
what? Are you the Uber?
What are you talking about?
Yeah. And so, so it is amazing. And I'll tell you, man, Chris, this has been such a wonderful experience. Like you and me chatting, like we literally chat. I don't even know how we became friends over Twitter, but we did. And we always have great exchange. And put that graphic back up, dude. You made my my logo, man. Just help me out because you're a buddy. That's awesome.
Well, I just try to help with, I don't have a lot of graphic design chops, but, if I can help somebody here and there, I try to do it.
It was fantastic. And of course, I'm a guitar player trying to learn how to use a camera. And I'm trying to learn like how to put like the graphics on top of the videos. That's phase, but it's coming. And awesome. But I really super appreciate it. Thank you so much for all the help, man.
Oh, no problem. And I think this is, I love ending on high praise. I think that's always a good time to end a show. So
I think you tipped me $50 before I did this. So
well, it's the reverse tip jar. I mean, it works that way.
Yeah, it does.
But one of the things that you did mention is that, you do focus on the smaller, lesser played print and play games, and you've kind of tried to carve a niche with the roll and write specifically. That's what your segments do. And your videos kind of expound a lot of those amongst other things. So I thought it was appropriate that we played a roll and write tonight. So how does that sound?
Fantastic.
And it's one you don't know, I think. So
this is even better.
All right. So to find out what we play, if you stuck around this long anyway, we're going to play that in a second, right after this break.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Introducing the all-new convenient travel edition of Game All Night. Perfectly sized to fit in your phone or audio device, the Game All Night audio show is now a podcast you can take with you on the go. Featuring the witty repartee you have come to know and love from the video show, but with no distracting pretty sets or guests to get in the way of your listening enjoyment. Now you can play along in the comfort of your car, filling your ear holes with soon-to-be classic episodes and games galore. Find links, news, and episode guides at GameAllNightShow.com. Download yours today.
It's game time!
Welcome back to Game All Night. It's game time. So
Yes,
tonight,
it is.
it is. This is exciting. So
I'm so excited, everybody!
you should be, Glenn, because tonight we're going right up your herd alley with some roll and write love in the form of Roll to the Top. So
Awesome.
This is pretty awesome, actually. This is a pretty cool little roll and write. It actually uses like all the polyhedral dice. So all the people like me who want to play Dungeons and Dragons and buy all the dice, but never actually get to use all the dice, now have an excuse. So that's pretty cool, right?
It is. I have a question for you though.
Shoot.
On your D4,
Uh-huh.
do you like the triangle where the one is on the bottom of the triangle, or when the one is on the top of the triangle?
I like it at the top. And
I like it at the top too. It's the only one that makes sense.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
and surprisingly,
Bottom one,
this one is on the top.
That's because you take care of business, man.
Hey, it wasn't my decision, it was theirs. But what's cool about Roll to the Top, now I kickstarted this, so there might be some extra stuff in here. It's from Koali. My goodness. So just so you know, the theme here is that they have pads that have different structures on them. So, like, for instance, we have the Eiffel Tower, the Burj Khalifa, the pyramids, a wooden house, a tree, Matterhorn, Cube House. I can keep going because there's, like, tons. Africa, okay?
Oh, my goodness.
Roll through Africa.
Like
It's
that.
kind of like a roll through the USA. But the idea is that it's a very flexible system, right?
Okay. I'm ready.
and it-
How flexible is it? How flexible is it?
It's pretty awesome. Now in the vein of like Rado runs through and things, don't count on me for rules because I do what I want.
I don't even think you can count.
No. And the fact that there's going to be math involved is definitely awkward. So here's the thing. Those are all cool sheets to work from. But I emailed Glenn a Game All Night special edition sheet that I created just for the show, which kind of has the little
Fantastic.
outline, has our logo and everything on it. So this will be what we're going to play with. And
Yeah, man.
yeah,
This is awesome.
so you want to know what's even cooler? If you're at home, there'll be a link in the description of this video on YouTube and on my blog site where you can download this and you can play along.
It's like the gift that gives.
Right? It's like the first time ever that like I've played a game where the audience can play along. So
I
We'll
love
see
that
what
this
happens.
is like the Empire State Building, and is this like the Sears Tower?
sure.
And
It's
then,
not
like,
some
down
random
here is-
skyline I just drew in Photoshop.
And then this is like actually like a Sears auto department. It's like shutting down because
Yeah, it's all sad and decrepit. I don't shop at Sears, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. All right, so we'll give you all at home a minute to go ahead and download that and print it out, and then come back to the show so you can kind of play along and see just how bad I suck at games in general.
Yeah.
All right. So what I'll do is these are the dice that are included in the game. Now, what's cool is that the plus, and we'll get into the explanation of the game now. So here's how the game works. So basically we have our sheet and we have boxes on our sheet. Pretty straightforward, right? Now, there's really anything can be next to each other and anything can be on the bottom row. But as soon as you start to go up, basically the numbers have to increase or be equal to. So if I have a 4 on the bottom row, that means I have to have a 4 on the top. If I am doing a box that shares its base over 2 boxes, both of those boxes have to be equal to or less than the number I'm placing. Right? Pretty straightforward. Okay. But what's really cool about this one is that during the game, we're going to be taking dice in and out of the pool here. So that's what this die is going to control. So the plus means the next round we're going to add a die, take a die away, dealer's choice for the plus minus, and then the swap is literally a swap. Like you take one out and you put one back in. All right?
That's why we're playing a 3-way.
Exactly. Now, the other thing...
You are a degenerate.
Dude, you have no idea. And I'm only 2 bourbons in. So the other thing is that the dice and how you use the numbers. So you have basically 3 choices with any die. Number 1 is you can use the number as it is on the die. Or you may add 2 dice together and use that number. So if I wanted to add this 6 and this 1 together, I could use that as a 7.
You're just trying to show off that you're good at math.
I can handle single digits. It's the doubles that get tough. Or you may skip a number altogether. But you may use any combination of the dice.
Anything at all.
Yeah.
Skip and not place anything. Okay.
Yes. But you use all the dice. So right now you would get a lot of numbers on your board, potentially. But the deal is that you can only ever use one die once. So I can only use that once. I can use that once. I can use the 9 once.
I may, on my first turn, write all of those numbers should I choose.
You could.
Wow, powerful.
Right. So it's really flexible and it's fun. Now, the other thing is, for instance, as we go around and we start to add dice in and take them out, does it make sense to have a 20-sider in early on? No. But does it make sense later on? Absolutely.
I have no common sense. I can't decide.
Oh, that's fine. So the idea is to be the first one to fill up your entire board completely.
Okay, got it. All right.
Any questions?
Are you comfortable losing a lot?
Very. I lose often.
Okay, cool.
All right. So what we'll do is I will place this die. So this is basically to signify what happens at the beginning of the next person's turn. So I'll go first, so I'll roll them in. And what we're going to do is remove all of we can choose either odds or evens. Which would you like? Pick odds or evens.
I'll go with the odds because I'm a gamer.
All right, so we'll remove all of the odds out, and then only the evens will be available for play. And I think there's actually a rule for that. And then this die will activate at the beginning of your turn to tell you whether to add, remove, or swap. Are you ready?
Let's roll.
All right, so we're removing all the odds.
Okay.
How much have I had to drink? Wow, we're removing 1 die.
All right, that's what I like.
All right, can you see these?
I can see. I can't see them. I see a 20 face up. I see a 1, a 4. I can't quite tell what's on top of that triangle 4 die.
It's a 4.
Oh, okay, right on. Look at you representing. You're so good. And I love that the interior of your roller box is skin print or snake skin print. I've seen accidentally Whitesnake twice in concert. Both were fantastic.
What's not to love?
Highly recommended. What is not to love? Okay. And I get to place whatever I want, and the next number has to be higher. Well, I'm not going to choose 20. That seems silly.
It does.
I'm going to do it anyway, because I hate success. Now, it has to go in the bottom row, right? It has to touch the bottom row when I do this.
Right. In order for you to build on the second level, both the squares underneath it would have to be filled if it was bridging those two.
I understand. And that white 1, that is fair game, correct?
No, this is telling us that on your turn, we are going to minus a die. You're going to take a die out of play.
Oh, that's a minus. Got it. Sorry, misunderstood.
It's all good.
I'm going to.
This is tough.
This is.
So you have your choice. So you can take out the 10, the 20, the 6, or the 4. What die do you want out?
Well, I'm going to take the 20.
I think that's smart. All right.
Yeah.
So
I'm a smart guy.
So we roll through the magic of television.
And it has to be higher.
9, a 2, and a 4 again.
Wow.
Equal to or higher.
Well, I'm not sure, but I'm going to say 9 and not 2 is higher than a 4.
Right, but a 2 could go on another base, so I'm going to snag that 2. I'm going to drop that 4 on top of the other pair of 4s I have because I can do that. All right.
Okay. A 2, a 1, a 6. Huh.
And a 3.
A 3 is higher than a 2.
Last time I checked.
My book.
Math hasn't changed that.
Now, on that 9, okay, so on the official dice, there are lines. Okay, so that is definitely a 9, not a 6, correct? Or is it a 6 and not a 9?
A 9 on a 6-sided die would be very difficult, I think.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Fine. Whatever.
Just saying.
Get all like specific on me. Oh God.
Don't forget, you can add together too.
Socks here.
We can't multiply, but we can add together. Now, in the rules, I will tell you, they teach you to, once you've set a score, you kind of tick the little corner so that you know that one's already done, so that way you can always keep track of your new work versus your pre-existing work.
Got it.
All right.
I'm feeling good, man.
All right.
We need rolling music. Okay. So yes, I combined my 6 and my 4, and I wrote down a 10.
I actually was able to keep them all separate because I still have some base available, and I'm all about that base.
Yeah, man. I can write down a 1 on my base if I want, correct?
Yeah. All right. Well, on the plus side, you have another 1. On the minus side, you're going to have to lose another die. Because there's 1 die left, this actually will come over to me automatically as an added die next turn.
Oh, fantastic.
So, we have a 3.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do.
Very, very musical. Classing up the show. Oh, man.
Loser.
All right. Well. So it's a 4, and I automatically have to add a die this round. All right. I'm going to add back in the 12.
Not as funny as your face.
I'm going to add the 12-sider.
Okay. Wow.
So 11 and a 6. All right, your choice. You can either add a die or take one away.
Ah, okay. So I'm going to add a die or take it. I'm going to add because I need higher than 17, Chris.
Always a wise decision.
Let's go with that one. That one looks great.
I don't know if I'm happy about that decision, but
I'm going to start calling you different names with every roll.
You got your wish.
All right. Well, Chrysanthemum, I'm going to write down the 20.
I'm a pretty daisy.
I'm going to use...
I don't want a
now,
20.
Here's a question.
I'm like legit going to
question.
pass on the 20. What?
Are you? Okay. If I combine 20 and 2 to make 22, does that lock up both of those die? And I may no longer use the 2 as an individual.
That is correct.
Okay.
All right. 19 and 5. Well, that kind of sucks. You can swap a die. What would you like to swap? You have to swap a die, actually.
Okay, I'm going to swap the red because I like blue, and I'm going to try to create a tonal palette and put the light blue 6 in there. Yeah, look how pretty that is. I'm an interior decorator.
Well, you know, if this whole, you know, music thing doesn't work out.
Which clearly it's not.
Well, it wouldn't for me, but that's just because I have 0 talent.
Well, that's my problem, too.
All right. So you got 11 and a 6. Well, you're going to get to swap, so you can swap right back. How's that make you feel?
No, because I hate you. Here's a question. I can put a 2 above a 2 because they're the same number, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. I'm testing you. I know the rules. I just did that to test you.
You're being testy. You may swap a die, sir.
I'm going to change, and I'm going to go for the purple 4.
What? Why on earth would you want that?
Because I'm stupid.
Oh, my God.
If you haven't realized.
You're the stupids. Well, you got a 17 and you got a 4.
But together, 17 plus 4 equals something higher than 20.
Equals the legal age to drink, in fact.
Oh, nice. Okay, I know that rule. Oh,
Not stripper, striper.
Oh.
We already talked about the other. All right. Well, that actually becomes an automatic plus. So 13, buddy. You can add a die.
Dice clay. Okay, I'm going to add a die. I've chosen. That is correct.
It's chosen for you.
I'm going to choose the because I want opposites of the color palette and red is close to orange. I'm going to go with the burnt sienna.
So bonus points for knowing your color wheel and knowing what is complementary, what is opposite.
It's my failed painting career on display.
So we got a 6 and we got a 10. All right. I'm going to add in the 8 cider.
The Colonel is disappointed in you, young Jedi.
Sorry. I didn't know there were colonels in the Jedi Army, but, you know, it's okay. Wow, there's another 20. How you feel about this one?
Nice.
Anywho.
You know what? I question our friendship sometimes. Okay, so I'm going to put down a 20.
All right, you get to swap a die. What are you swapping?
Yeah, I do. Swap and spit the die. Hold on, I'm pouring some whiskey.
Yeah, because I
don't
think
even
that'll
like
help.
her. I'm taking my I'm taking my green out. Pull it out gently. It's my first time. And then I would like you to put in the...
This is very uncomfortable.
For both of us. Right there. There we go. I don't know what you're referring to.
All right.
Easy. Do you like U2?
Like I kind of peaked with Joshua Tree for me, you know, but that was like the quintessential like mid '80s album. So.
Yeah, almost deaf. I was really into Lips Like Sugar. Who sang that song? I can't remember. But that and Joshua Tree, and then I think I peaked with Octung Baby. With them. That was my peak. All right, I filled in my board. I'm ready to move on.
We're going to take that 6 out.
Okay.
Speaking of well played, you get to add a die.
Yeah. I would.
I'm going to have to release the full version of the game on its own as its own episode with all this extras.
Yeah. This is going to be like we started
the bonus Patreon content.
Yeah. I want to put in. This time I'm only going to go for similar shapes. So I'm going to go for the one with the most sides.
So I rolled a 20 I rolled a 1 on the 20 sider. You're welcome. It's a good thing I could use a 4. I'll say that much. Exactly.
Well, can I use? I've already used it, so I can't use anything else. Okay, I'm good, man.
All right. I'm gonna add in the 6 cider.
11, 4, 4, 8. I see a lot of parody in there.
I think I see the failure in my plan right now.
I wish your shirt. I can't see the detail right now, but I wish it was. It was so frilly, so frilly. You know, I remember my first tuxedo shirt was nothing but frills, man. And I was like, I didn't even have a bow tie. It was all like.
I totally believe that. So here's it. So for those of you playing along at home, so because I'm rolling all the dice, because that's what the die tell me to do, and I always do what the dice tell me to do, I will instantly have to remove one when it comes time for me to roll. This is the first time that's come up. I'm actually taking that as a 4 and 2 10s.
I'm taking it as 17.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Let's roll some die. Why don't you, man, Chris?
I'm gonna take away the 6. Apparently, we both like to talk when we drink, so that's important to note for the future, I will say.
Here's an interesting thing I should let you know. This adds up because I can add to 17.
It does.
Math. I don't know how to spell it because I can't.
But you're right. You can write one number to my 2. That's fine.
I'm gonna write 17 next to my other. Guess what? 17. Quadrihedral.
They're all polyhedrals.
This is H.P. Lovecraft. All right. So I played for the first time, by the way, my friend of many years. Reign of Cthulhu Pandemic.
Okay, what'd you think?
I played on the camping trip. It is the easiest of all pandemic editions. However, it is the most evocative. There are weird caveats that we missed. Whatever. It's not about. I
like the idea of the track. Like he borrowed a huge chunk from when Matt Leacock also made Thunderbirds, the game, which I kickstarted and have, and I love it. But it does the same thing, like where the hood comes across the top, and he has different schemes, and Cthulhu is largely based on that. So I totally get what you mean. It's good. It sounds like you guys like the Green God. Oh.
Well, definitely accidentally. My wife loves Elder Sign, as do I. I've bought because I know English. I don't know what my favorite game is.
I didn't ask you, so you don't have to worry about it.
Okay, great. Let's roll some die.
Oh, I'm such an asshole.
You know what I really love now?
I don't ask people what their favorite game is because it's pointless. Because your favorite game is never the same. Right, exactly. Right. You know. All right. Hey, just so you know, I only have 4 spaces left.
What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I have 14 spaces left. All right. This is the best game I've ever played, by the way, Chris.
This is the best game you've ever played on the internet, on a talk show.
You know, for as enthusiastic as I am about games, I lose all of them. Is that
Oh, I understand. Oh, believe me, I know. It's kind of the role of the evangelist. You know why? Because if you won every game, nobody would play with you. Let's be honest with you.
True.
When you're introducing people to games, if you won every single time, nobody would come out and play.
No. I totally. You're absolutely right now that you say it.
You know, I love Bruce.
Anyway, where are we in this game?
You're about to get your ass kicked.
Oh Gosh, golly.
But you get to pick one of these dice to come out.
I'm colorblind also.
So, dark gray. Well,
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 open spots. Neck and neck with you with 3.
the important thing is you got to get all the love out now, I think. 'Cause
There's
I'm rolling
no
all the
tomorrow,
dice, and I only need more than 12.
If I add that all together, I have 15, everybody. If you have 15 on a ticket, come to the front. You're going to get a free buffet tomorrow at Delilah's. Okay, so
Wow.
15.
Well,
right, cool. All right.
I do hate to say that I won.
No, what? You finished?
I finished.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 10 left boxes. It was fun. Actually, you know what? That's a really cool game. Like I said, I wish I had heard about it before it came out. That sounds right up my alley. What's the name of that game again?
It's called
Roll to the Top.
Roll to the Top by Koali.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a feeling.
You
I don't know if
barely know
anybody was
English
playing along
anyway.
at home. You'll have to let me know if you won.
It'd be interesting how many people beat you. I know everyone beat me.
So let's
Yeah,
wrap
dude.
this up. And
All
you
right.
have a new. All your videos are now starting to appear on the Dice Tower. So if you subscribe, you'll
Yeah, that's
start
pretty
seeing you.
rad.
But where can people find you outside of that?
My own Twitter page called Games and Bourbon at Games and Bourbon. I also have a YouTube channel named the same thing, Board Games and Bourbon. I have a Facebook page, called Board Games and Bourbon. I also
How very
started-
like early 2000s of you.
Yeah, that's what I do. I also have a GeoCities page called
Oh,
Board Games
nice.
and Bourbon. And I have a Facebook page that I started a group called Roll and Write, which just talks about this particular genre, which I actually consider very exciting. And I think there's going to be a large segment of our culture in board gaming that's really going to like it. I administer the play and the print and play forum, and my cat's meowing. I hope that that's not in the background. Play, print and play. I'm contributing to a podcast called The Shuffle that is brand new. I'm really excited. And Tom and I were on the phone the other day, and he's like, "Yeah, man, let's put your videos up." So I'm going to be on Dice Tower very soon.
Wow, you're on a first name basis with Mr. Vassal. That's
I'm on a phone call, and here's
Phone
the great
call.
thing: he knows about me because he was like, "Yeah, man, when you did the sweet spot, that was horrible," and so I made an impression. I'm so happy.
I love this sweet spot. Hashtag alternative board game media is what I
My
live
man.
by. So
My man, thank you so much.
absolutely. This has been awesome. And I hope you guys all enjoyed this, and be sure to roll it right the next time you game all night.
Right on.
Have a good night.
Game All Night is proud to be sponsored by Game Toppers. Check them out at GameToppersLLC.com, upgrading your gaming experience.
Well, that's a wrap. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed our efforts at comedy and fun, please support us on Podpledge. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And of course, don't forget to engage with us on Board Game Geek Guild 3134. You can also check us out on our website, GameAllNightShow.com.
This show has been made possible through supporters like these.
Angry Octopus.
Oh, I did the one Carlson I said I wasn't going to do, and I did it. I would love if, right when that happened, you actually had, a cow going moo or something like that. So I'm writing that next to my
It's going to be an editing nightmare. I write like you do.
Oh, good. You know what? I think that says a lot about you, and I'm sorry. Music, I can only count up to 4. Hey, Chris, I have 3 daughters, and I named them all Anna. Did you know that?
Did you? You must
Yeah,
really
they're all
love
named-
Frozen.
Anna 1, Anna 2, Anna 3.
Oh my god, that's horrible.
Yeah. So one of the greatest jokes I ever heard was Gary Shandling. And Gary Shandling had a joke where he said, "Hey everyone, I don't want to brag, but I'm dating Miss Georgia." Okay. Well, I'm dating the former Miss Georgia. All right, fine. I'm dating George Foreman. Oh, Christopher Cross.
Oh,
and
yes.
Thinking of Laura.
Sailing away.
I don't trust you. I don't know where that brings me. I'm burning this after this TV show.
You're a horrible person who thinks the worst of people. What do you expect? Dude, it was messed up when we showed up. If I start editing this tonight, I might have it done in 2 weeks. The editing nightmare continues.
But you and I have like an understanding and like a bottom layer. There goes the dish.